Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Off the Mark. I am your host, Tootie O, and with me as always is my amazing co-host, Miss Meeks Kali. How are you, love?
Hello, love Tootie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing. So today's episode, we're going to try to bring you something a little bit different. We understand that the last two episodes were really, really heavy in subject matter. So this time we're going to bring you something a little lighter in that we're going to talk about and review the halftime show, the Super Bowl halftime show that just happened this past Sunday, and all the satanic ritualistic stuff that we get to point out. So talk about a lighter subject.
I was like, that's not at all
true. So yeah, we want to bring you just some observations as to how the media and how the telly brings about ideas and subject matter and just, you know, things that our brain soaks up. We all know that the TV is a brain cell killer. You know, it's been something that we've been told since the 80s, since the 70s, where turn that thing off, you're killing your brain cells. And
right.
You know, so we understand that the TV does have a power over us. So we want to just introduce some of the ways that the media uses television and things like Super Bowl halftime shows and concerts and representations and just things that the media knows that the entire country is going to be focused on. Those are the times that they like to spread the messages subconsciously. So we just want to kind of introduce some of the ways that they've done that and how there's actually evidence of how they've done that. And I think the term is predictive programming, right? I think that's what they call it.
Yeah, predictive programming, where they give us some pre-framing. They like kind of gradually introduce us to the visuals and the storylines and the concepts of it. So that way, when we're presented with it in our reality, we're already familiar and can accept it as true. Where if it was just completely left field, like if you had never heard of an alien, if they like did an alien landing, you'd be like, what am I looking at here? Like, what is this?
Right.
You know, like how they equate or how they describe Native Americans seeing like Columbus for the first time or something, you know, it just like does not compute. So they gradually condition us to be more and more familiar with these things. And first it's just, you know, outlandish story that they dismiss. Then it becomes a bit more like nebulous, like where that line of reality is, and then it becomes accepted as true.
Right. So we want to bring you just some examples aside from the halftime show, which on a secular level was pretty good. You know, like a lot of people really enjoyed it. On another level, it gave me the creeps. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to bring up the halftime show from last year and how it kind of brought about the things that came after that halftime show. We want to bring a little bit of an example through the Olympics, the 2012 London Olympic opening, which again, that one's a doozy to me. That one's one of the bigger ones. That one actually introduced the coronavirus pandemic in many ways. So yeah, we're gonna hit it hard. Dang, I shouldn't have said it was a lighter subject.
Oh yeah, I was about to say,
I'm just thinking about it. Wait a minute. Yeah. Hey, whatever.
It's
Let's
the
do
Super Bowl.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, Super Bowl, yeah, but no, dang.
No, we're about to ruin it for you. So, and you'll never enjoy it again.
Dang. Well, let's get started.
So on that note, I know it's so funny because the Super Bowl is such a huge deal. And even though, you know, baseball is our official like American pastime, that the Super Bowl, even more than I think the like baseball like World Series is the day that's like a holiday, a national holiday, you know, or like, you know, that's themed in the stores and everywhere. And some people get off work and all of that. So anyways, we wanted to start off with, before we go into this year's Super Bowl, we wanted to kind of backtrack and just kind of paint the scene of how they've done this in the past. So when we talk about red pill and paradigms and stuff like this, it truly is that people can exist in completely different realities based on what they believe in. You know, your belief of how you came here and what's real or not constructs the world that you're able to function and act in, and how you're able to process things. So it's part of our normal secular reality that like magic, ends with, you know, like performance magicians doing sleight of hand and, you know, special boxes and stuff like that. And we like to be amazed and entertained by magic, but with the understanding that it's because of some trickery from the magician, not any actual like magic or untangible power that they possess. And even like witches, we dismiss it of like, oh, they like to do their, you know, spells and potions, but there's nothing that really comes of it as a secular belief. As far as, you know, a percentage of the people in America of who believes in magic and aliens and fairies and whatever, you know, that's different. But when you go out into society, you're supposed to operate in the paradigm of the secular belief that, you know, aliens aren't proven, there's no such things as fairies or mermaids, magic is just illusion, and so on. And yet, you know, it's historical from, you know, her earliest writings and teachings that there were these priests that were essentially wizards or magic workers that knew how to observe the astronomical patterns and positions and the astrology of that and the energy that is generated from that. The moon is able to control the tides of the earth, of the waters of the earth, and the cycles of procreation in women. So, you know, it's not far-fetched to think that the planets can influence us. And so they're able to use that as well as a knowledge of alchemy and the different properties of the different natural elements of the world. And when you combine that heaven and earth and are able to synergize them in such a way and present it, then you can alchemize and manifest anything. So that practice is ancient and eternal. Essentially, it's always available to us as long as there is a heavens above us and an earth at our feet. And there is a community or society of people that have sustained that practice, even though there's been many periods throughout history where that has been attempted to be suppressed, whether through the Crusades and the churches or the witch hunts or in Salem or any times that the priests have been defeated. You know, 300, as we've mentioned before, how the priests would organize certain ceremonies along with eclipses, and that they would terrify the people of how they were able to predict these things, and that they would use that to even run the president. So these priests, these like dark lords and wizards behind the scenes, are the ones who are actually like leading these nations, and the livelihoods of people are being based off of their direction. And so somewhere along the line, we think that that just stopped, like we outgrew it and we got technology and then we don't do it anymore, or those people got snuffed out, or that's just like very fringe, that some people believe in magic and practice magic and whatever, that they're just, you know, in their little hidden corners, but it doesn't affect the world at large. And yet, if you consider that this magical aspect is you know, an element of our reality, it puts you into a different paradigm where you can see that these practices, these rituals that are documented from centuries ago are still taking place today. It didn't go away, it just got a different name and got rebranded so that it could be more palatable and more hidden and under the rug in our modern society. So they say, if you want to hide something, put it in plain sight. And that's where it's hardest to find. So that's what they've been doing. And that's even part of the karmic balance of these dark forces in their siphoning of our energy, is that they can't just take from us. It has to be given of our free will. And that's what we do when we think that we're just being entertained and we're putting our attention and our emotion and our energy and we're allowing it to feed off us, especially if we're like buying records of these artists and we're, you know, investing our hard-earned blood, sweat, and tears that we put into our labor, and then we're handing it off in droves to, you know, paying these tithes to these idols. And so when you start to consider, wow, we still have our festivals that, you know, like we had Saturnalia in the Christmas time during the winter solstice all these centuries ago. Now we celebrate Christmas. A lot of the habits of it are the same. The holly, the candy canes, the, you know, gingerbread, the hearth, like all these things are the tree, the lights, all these practices and celebrations of it are the same. It's just presented in a different way that we think it's normal. So once you can put it into context of ritual, then it all starts to make more sense. So before we go dissecting, because you know, I know a lot of people think that conspiracy theorists just kind of like cling on to something and spiral out and run away with it of like, oh, look at how they held their hand just that way, or look at there was 3 candles in the background, so that must mean that there are what, you know. So
like, look at my candles. Stop that.
Controlled opposition. But so like obviously you can go to extremes of it, and part of it is so conditioned in us that sometimes we're participating in these rituals and we don't even realize that we're doing it. So not to say that you have to like do your own witch hunt of like trying to discern like who has nefarious whatever, but just to be aware of it as being prevalent in our culture. And that and we're going to show you some examples now. So like as Tootie mentioned with the London Olympics opening, so anytime they have an opportunity to present to like the people at large, like those are our ceremonies, you know. That's the same thing as when we'd gather around and, you know, for those eclipses. And so I'll go ahead and share screen with our,
That's an interesting point, because that is a big deal, or at least it used to be, not so much now, because I don't know, we're attached to our screens, I guess, but eclipses used to be a huge deal where people actually got together and, you know, collectively looked at the eclipse, almost made like, you know, made parties out of them, especially the really, really rare ones. I remember doing that in the 80s as a kid with my parents and stuff, but I don't see so much of that now. So it's an interesting thing to bring up, that when the sun or the moon do certain things, like automatically we're gonna end up doing certain things because of that, you know. And even if it's just getting together and gathering around to see an eclipse, or what happened the other day, the Jupiter Saturn conjunction. I keep hitting my microphone. You know, a lot of people gathered to see that too. That was really, really neat. Also, you know, so, and again, the whole thing about, oh, it's a full moon tonight, all the crazies are out, you know, so there's certain energies and certain ideas and certain things that are just naturally put out there that have probably been around for ages. And all because it's all predictability of the sun and the moon, or astronomical, one of those, whichever one is the fun one. Whichever one's not the boring one.
Astronomical is like the planetary positions, and then astrological is about like their energies or their stories with each other.
They both sound fun now. Yeah, all right.
They're dancing and they're singing about it. It's cute.
There we go.
Okay, so my share screen, for reasons, I don't know why it's not letting me open the specific window. So we're going to try this, and it's just going to show what I'm looking at. So if you accidentally see background stuff of my computer, ignore it. But we'll do a feature mode send with you. Oh wait, it's still making noise.
2012? That was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
And how accurate it can be. So of course, like at the time, it just seems so, oh, what a clever performance, right? But yeah, and so next we're going to show you the Super Bowl from 2020. Okay, so now we're going to show you the Super Bowl video from 2020 that was starring Shakira and J-Lo. So COVID was already starting to be reported about at this time, because it was first announced at the end of January of 2020. But in America, we were still, you know, living fairly normal lives. There was some concern. Some people, you know, were extra sanitizing or having masks, but it definitely wasn't at large.
The National Football League welcomes you to the Pepsi Super Bowl 54.
So again, for this one, we're just going to kind of skip through it. They start always on pretty much on.
Everything's a circle.
Yep, it always has our circle, and then circumference. So here you'll see that she's standing on top of the pillars of Boaz and Jachin, and we'll go a bit more into that at the end, but this platform lowers, but they start and end with this. And the Super Bowl performer is generally dressed in red, representing, you know, Satan or the devil. And so, you know, they say like the greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince us that he doesn't exist. So again, she's dancing in the circle, and then there comes a point where, let's see. Okay, wait, she's playing. Oh, okay, wait, yeah, here. So she's playing in the circle. They ignite it, it has like a fire, so it's like unleashed. And then she's bound. So she ties herself up. And that's us on lockdown. She even has the X on her chest too. And then she does, you know, they're like seductive dances to get out. Trying to find another overview of the circle on the ground. Okay, here in this section, all of a sudden they're doing in sevens. So it's interesting, they have like the lady legs and stuff. I don't know if that has anything to do with like the procreation and the vaccine, you know, like their infertility concerns. But they also have 7 posts, each with 11 lights. So like 7 obviously is a very important number biblically. There's like 7 is used many times, of like 7 houses, 7 this, 7 days of the week, 7 chakras. And then 11, 711 has to do with the Moors, if you know that history.
7 and 11 are both holy numbers, right?
Yeah. And then here she has the 7 trumpets. And they're also in like a pyramid, you know, shape. And then it scoots ahead. She goes into the crowd. Okay, yeah, and we're almost there. And see, there's our corona.
Holy
and it even,
balls.
yeah, and so it even has like the spiral. It has the black and white, which is, you know, their Masonic like checkerboard type pattern, the duality, the good and evil, that they toy with both the light and dark forces, that they think order out of chaos, that through their submersion into the darkness, that they'll arrive on the other side of the Taurus. And there's even, you know, our crown chakra is pictured as like a lotus flower, like blooming from our crown. So, and there's even 20 flowers here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 flowers. So that's like 2020 maybe. And then the crown also changes. Oh, that's her getting possessed when they do like that. They always do something where they go right in the camera and their face augments, or they make some type of bizarre noise.
The Weeknd did the same thing.
Yep.
That's crazy. Only he didn't undulate. I think he just went or something. Yeah. But yeah, right in the camera.
And then it's taking over the crown. How there's like that image that's spawning from the center. There we go, and there that's the 5G taking over, and then we have J-Lo on the vaccine syringe, which is on top of a hospital-like building, or even like the Empire State Building, it looks like, kind of like in New York, how that was one of the first places that they really rolled it out. And even this, their garb is interesting, how they're kind of like, you know, like biker crew, but all in black, or I don't know if it's owing to the, I don't know, like a lot of the protesters and stuff would wear black and things like that. And so then she goes into this next section.
That actually does look like the Akipa uniform.
Yeah.
Except for the tutus.
Yeah.
Maybe tutus.
Maybe. And then here again, they have the black and white duality, and look how the stage is splitting. And then as it goes a little bit further, they have the circumpunct in the center, which is kind of like the eye and the iris and theory, and yeah, so ties into all of that of our illumination again. And then the stage splits, kind of like how our country has been divided. Then after that, the vaccine, now we have all these vaccine zombies in our Great Reset digital matrix world. She climbs the pole. And then they always do their Christ mockery. So there she is, crucified on a cross, everybody dead below her.
Whoa.
And then with their vaccine magic, they rise and are resurrected again. And see how they're tied in like these bondage type outfits. And even her outfit is all mirror, but it's like fractured mirrors, like alluding to the illusion and deception. And all this green, you know, it's like that digital matrix, the technocracy that we'll get to be ruled under. And then here, yeah, again, the digital stuff. And then after this portion, so, but see, now people are able to interact and stuff again. Oh, and here we have CERN. So CERN is where they're basically splitting the atom and testing with time travel. And you'll see how it has like all these happy faces at the, if you've seen like Dante's Inferno, they have like the levels of hell, and this looks just like the CERN super collider machine. And they have these different echelons of these like smiley face creatures, which are like demons or maybe the titans that are being released from hell, because see how they're like coming up and stuff out of the portal. And then after CERN is released, then there's like utter madness. They have like all the colors and everybody going all crazy. They also have like this symbol where it kind of looks like the Great Conjunction to me, because it has like the three, the triangulation, just kind of like Saturn and Jupiter, and having the rings around it. I haven't counted, but I wonder if they have 8 light posts this time. Let's see, no, that's 6. Maybe there's 2 off camera.
6. Yeah, that's what I was looking at too.
But they also, that's another one. Oops, that's another one of their numbers. It's doing the number, 666.
Yep.
And then after that, okay. So now we have our children in cages.
Right. I wonder what that's alluding.
And you'll notice that so all the children have these white hoodies, right, with like the silver flag. But you'll see on her hoodie, her daughter's hoodie especially, it has a different figure. So I don't know if that's supposed to be Hermes, because it has the, but this is a different character than the rest.
It looks like Medusa to me, but
yeah, it could be Medusa. It could be one of their gods or figures, but it's paying homage to somebody, and it has like that Greek kind of like pattern on the
on the
the PayPal thing. But yeah, so now and then we have this, which is the globe and cross, and look at all these 6 pointed stars. So here, let me stop share and see if I can pull up.
Isn't that also the female, the symbol for female, the circle and the cross?
It is, but upside down. So the orb and cross has it facing with the cross on top and the circle on the bottom, and then the other version has it where the circle's on top and the cross is below. So let's see if it'll let me share screen. Okay. Yeah, for some reason it's not letting me pick the individual windows, but just whatever I have on my computer. Okay, so the globe and cross symbol is the globus cruciger, also known as the cross-bearing orb, the orb and cross. which it has been a Christian symbol of authority since the Middle Ages, used on coins and iconography and royal regalia. And the cross represents Christ's dominion over the orb of the world, literally held in the hand of the earthly ruler or the savior of the world is what it's representing. So it's having like those six-pointed fallen stars. Okay, we'll come back to that. Has those six-pointed fallen stars falling onto Earth. Here, share. Okay. So there it is, cross and the orb. So it's like the savior coming, and now they're all holding hands and in unity, just like Biden is going to do. And then we have our second star, right? Those like rising stars, their morning star. Oh, look, there she's wearing American flag.
I think that's a Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican, yeah. Well, it's both sided. It's American on one and one side, I think. So yeah, so that's kind of like all the immigration maybe laws that are coming about now and uniting and in that way our borders. And then they come together. Okay, yeah, and we'll just show the very end. Where the pillars will rise again. Show them on the thing. Okay, so they're back on the pillars of Boaz and Jachin. And then if you read their, let's see. So Boaz and Jachin were two copper, brass, and bronze pillars which stood on the porch of Solomon's temple, the first temple in Jerusalem. They are sometimes used as symbols in Freemasonry and tarot. And they weren't part of the support structures, but free standing. So they're more like representative. And it represents, Boaz means in him is strength, and Jachin, it means he shall establish. So put together, the scripture means in strength will I establish this, my house and kingdom forever. So it's a biblical passage. So people take that to alluding that's Jesus and God's, blessing that he gave to Solomon. But this is something that's been adopted by the Freemasons. So pretty much every Masonic temple, you'll see these two pillars at their entrance. And as Masons, we should reflect upon the significance of the pillars as we construct our personal values and morals. So it's very, it's references to the true pillars are found in pre-grand lodges of England rituals. Okay, sorry, bear with me. Let me find it.
That was insane. That the opening. That's not the first time you've showed me the pillars inside of these performances either.
Here, actually, let me just.
I think it's insane how they choreograph all of this stuff. I mean, who's writing this stuff? You know what I mean? That it's so precise and so perfect. I mean, if that's really what's going on, and there's kind of no doubting it, but it just seems like that. I mean, that's legit witchcraft. It's so like precise and perfectly done. It's just, yeah, that is crazy.
Okay, so for the Boaz thing, okay, so in Song of Solomon, passage 3, verse 10, it says, he made the pillars thereof of silver and the bottom thereof gold, the covering of it of purple, the midst thereof being paved with love for the daughters of Jerusalem. So they're silver and gold. And then if you play a little bit further, the lights look more purple-ish that they're shining behind them. That's one video. And then, so we're going to go on to the weekends now. So just that we've established how they've have a tendency to do this, how they demonstrate their principles. Oh, and as you're saying, like, who's making this and writing it so much? A lot of people that are part of these societies are born into it. They are very protective of their bloodlines. So there's like the 13 official royal families, and then the you know, echelons of people that have been born from that, some through different parts of history. People have tried to escape, you know, the families, and maybe they've had kind of their own offsprings, and then people have been suckered back in because they still had the blood, or they were just raised in it. But people try to escape, or they just, you know, are born, live and die and serve in this. And so a lot of them, just like, you know, other people are raised going to church every Sunday, like they're raised in their traditions and ceremonies. So it's just ingrained in them as well, of like all these symbolisms and representations and the way the elements and colors and stuff correlate together. So a lot of their creativity, you know, that they're demonstrating on these major productions is just a reflection of the visuals that they've been seeing their whole life and their upbringing of, you know, like, oh, how creative that they did the pyramid over their eye. It's like, no, it's been done a million times. It's not like artistic or, you know, just in the moment of how it flowed with the music and the choreography in that moment, you know, like they're doing a thing. So part of it is intentional. Part of it is just like habitual, that it's so ingrained in them. And yeah, so this one we're going to watch more in full. The Weeknd's Full Pepsi. So just as the 2020 Super Bowl predicted the year ahead, here we're getting a sneak peek into what to look forward to in 2021.
Yay.
Yay.
Time show.
Okay, so we're starting off in Vegas, and I'll point it out in another scene, but yeah, they have the pillars again that he'll be between. But as we know, Vegas was one of the places where we had our last like mass shooting, potentially false flag event.
Right. One of our biggest mass shootings, probably one of the last biggest ones. Yeah. And yeah, false flag type of event.
And all the lights on him, and he makes like that X cross even, so he's like on a cross.
It's the same show. Oh my God. That gave me the chills right there. Jesus.
And then he walks off and he's done. He did his part.
The National
His
Football
part.
League thanks you for watching.
Yeah, and then the Pepsi kind of has like a 666 sign, but I don't know. And of course you can, you know, pick these apart however much. It doesn't mean, you know, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So likewise, you know, an artist can make a painting to be anything, and then whoever is viewing it can, it creates the significance for them. But also, you know, that's part of marketing and advertising, is anticipating the needs of your customer and consumer, and pandering to that, you know, or, you know, tying into or nibbing at those weaknesses. So it's not purely artistic expression, it's with the intention of stimulating a certain response in people at the end of it. So
Right. Exactly. That was good. That was deep.
right.
That was good. And we just wanted to bring attention to it, because this isn't going to be this isn't the first time they've done it. Obviously, we went back almost 10 years to see the predictive program of how they introduced the coronavirus to us subconsciously. So yeah, so keep your eyes out for whatever you're watching, whatever events, whoever, you know, whether it be the national anthem or whatever thing that whatever our as a whole, our nation is being focused on. There's a reason for that, and behind everything that we're watching, like say for instance the impeachment hearings that are live right now. There's a lot of people that are watching those, so a lot politicians are either gonna filibuster, or this is their moment to shine. So, you know, theater, it's all theater, every single bit of it. So yes, we were entertained by the Super Bowl show, but at the same time, there's a bigger picture, there's a bigger reason as to why they're doing it. It's not just entertainment. You know, it's the same as if, you know, somebody showing off in court or you know, whatever. There are certain things that people are or you know, that the media or whoever's in charge that they put out there on purpose to make sure, like you said, it's either hide the evil in plain sight, and it's up to us to discern whether it really is evil or not, you know, basically get us to not pay attention to it at all. So, you know, it's just one of those things. I feel like we sound like crazy people.
I got used to it. I embrace it now. It was hard before Corona to pretend to be normal. Now it's just impossible. My brain and soul won't let me. It's like, no, I disagree with you. Thank you. But no, thank you.
Yeah, you're right. At this point, and I think we both have lost a lot of people personally in our lives who because we disagree or whatnot. But you're right. At this point, it's like the line has been drawn in the sand. And there's no going back. And I guess I have to come to terms with sounding like a crazy person. All right, fine. But yeah, that was fun. Thank you so much.
Everyone sounds crazy until they're right. So our time will come. Now Zoidberg is the popular one.
You know what's funny is as we were watching that, and I was thinking back to the, you know, the creepy guys marching and stuff, and I was thinking, man, I'm gonna feel so dumb if we end up having to be in the and, you know, being marching in line with everybody else, getting the vaccine and whatnot. It's like, man, I'm going to feel silly. You know what I mean? Doing this podcast, working so hard, and then we end up, you know.
Turns out now we're here.
Dang.
Well, we'll have to take each battle as we come to it, each choice along the road, and trust our intuition and the Holy Spirit within us to guide us in that moment of what lines to draw and what battles to pick, you know, because but part of it is too that we got to see ourselves on the other side of this tunnel that we're going into, you know, like there is a bright light at the end of it. It's just that history goes in these waves, you know, like the Great Depression happened and we're due for another one. And like then abundance happened after, you know, we like the 50s were cool after the Great Depression. So, I mean, you know, economically, so relatively. So, you know, like we'll have our different booms and seasons, but yeah, I think we just don't want people to like be so enamored with summer that we forget there's going to be a winter again. Right. Like that's still coming. And it doesn't mean like, oh no, there's winter. It's like, no. And then there'll be spring again, you know, and like it does this thing. And we just have to do certain things in certain times. Just like in the year, there's the larger grand scales of that where it goes through a cycle of 10 years or 100 and stuff. So every decade we go through our summer, spring, autumn, and winter, and every century and so on. So we're coming into it and we just want people to be mindful of these things. And again, I know that we possibly sound crazy, but also, you know, like we all learned in history that this has been going on for a very long time. And then at some point along the story, we just shut our brains off of like, and then it was no more, you know? And if we like open up that box again, that like, maybe there are still, you know, rituals. Maybe rituals are a part of culture. And we know that we're celebrating Valentine's Day in a couple of days. Why? Who knows anymore? But we do it. And I'm going to buy candy, I think. Right. They have commercials for from like Dove or something, I think, or whoever, that's like, don't forget to buy yourself candy this year, because they're like, we know you're not seeing anyone because Zoom dating is whack and it's COVID and everybody's isolated. But don't forget consumerism. Yeah. Buy yourself a Valentine. You self-love this year.
Treat yourself, I guess.
Treat yourself with money, with expenses.
Well, with that being said, these couple of crazy broads are going to call it a day. Thank you guys so much. Miss Kali, thank you so much for all of your work once again and all of your wonderful information.
Thank you.
Perfect as always. And yeah, you guys take notes, stay vigilant, stay focused, don't freak out, and, you know, keep the peace, man. That's all we're here for. All right, guys. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.